Okay, so I just have a couple of things I need to read. First of all, my name is Elena, and I run the Facebook group, YouTube channel, and website Excalibur Healing. And today we are going to go over the ebook that I wrote called The 6-Day Liver and Gallbladder Flush. It is based off of the original protocol by Andreas Moritz, but I have added a few modifications that I want to share with you all. And so we're going to go through that today. Um, these modifications are really good for people who are diabetic, people who follow a more low carb lifestyle or a carnivore lifestyle. Um, and there's also options to double and triple flush, which will get you results faster. So let's see what else. Hopefully you have a copy of that protocol with you. If not, it's going to be on the screen. Um, you can get it at excaliburhealing.com. You can also download it from the group. So I just want to let everyone know, like, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not an expert in a professional as far as like, being a medical anything. So I'm just a regular person. So just want to throw that out there that if you have questions regarding specific health issues, I'll do the best I can, but you should definitely talk to your doctor before starting any new protocols. I had some pretty basic health issues when I started doing liver flushing 9 years ago, just like some weight gain. I had acne, acid reflux, depression, mood disorder. I know a lot of people are dealing with some pretty heavy conditions. And I've worked with people who are diabetic, both types. I've worked with people who have fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic, and just some other pretty minor thing. Hopefully, I can answer a lot of your questions as I'm going through it. But if you do have a question, write it down, and then I will do the Q&A at the end of the presentation. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So what is a liver and gallbladder flush? So the 6-day gallbladder flush, liver flush, is a cleanse using natural ingredients to expel gallstones and liver stones without having surgery. This procedure is used as a preventative against gallstone attacks and to keep the liver from becoming congested. A healthy functioning liver produces and secretes between 1 quart and 1.5 quarts. So that's between 4 and 6 cups of bile into the digestive system every day. And this is to digest food. It's to keep the intestines clear of pathogens, harmful bacteria, candida overgrowth, and parasites. And the gallbladder is actually a reservoir for additional bile. So when the liver becomes congested with fat and sludge and gallstones, the amount of bile that gets secreted into the digestive system is significantly less, where the average American has about 1 or 2 cups. So that's quite a bit less. Um, and I just want to also point out that gallstones, a lot of people believe are in the gallbladder. And honestly, most gallstones are forming in the liver first. And once that liver becomes so full and congested of gallstones, they start to push themselves into the gallbladder. And according to Andreas Moritz, the liver can hold up to 20,000 stones, and they do vary in size and in color and all that kind of thing, but 20,000 is pretty significant before they actually start moving into the gallbladder. So that's good news for people who, um, you know, haven't had any gallbladder issues, and people who don't have a gallbladder definitely need to be doing some liver flushes because that means that your liver is full. So definitely need to be doing that. There is a little bit different prep for people without a gallbladder. Um, I would say maybe 1 or 2 weeks ahead of time, you might want to start doing and this could be for anyone too. You don't have to be missing a gallbladder to do these things, but you can be drinking like warm lemon water in the mornings and having things like pure cranberry juice and having some chamomile tea. And those things seem to help with people who don't have a gallbladder. Okay, so why we need to flush. So when we consume things that form an acidic byproduct during digestion, those acids coagulate with the bile and they form gallstones and liver sludge. And these these foods and things typically are processed foods, packaged, refined, alcoholic, prescribed and unprescribed medications. Seed oils is a big one, and drugs and alcohol, those are usually the culprit. So let's see. I think last year there were even more gallbladder removals. I think it was more closer to maybe 700,000. So that's quite a few. Um, when all we really need to be doing is having some natural things like olive oil and lemon juice, it kind of makes you wonder, like why are we not talking about this more? So liver stones and gallstones severely disrupt the performance of the liver, which has over 500 jobs. So even if you eat healthy now and you don't drink alcohol anymore, chances are if you've never done something as proactive as a liver flush, that there's still going to be stones and sludge in there, especially gallstones, which seem to be a little bit more calcified than liver stones, which are mostly cholesterol anyway. So they're mostly made of fat and they will float when they come out. So you'll definitely know when you've passed them. So moving on to here are the common symptoms, ranging from constipation, nausea, hemorrhoids, angry personality, depression, liver cirrhosis, acne, pain between the shoulder blades, pain on the right shoulder, tooth and gum issues, parasites, candida, obesity, knee problems, insomnia, chronic fatigue, deep lines in between your eyebrows, like an 11 wrinkle here, a large midsection, but having pretty thin arms and legs, greasy hair and hair loss. All of these things can, okay. Here is a list of the tools that we need. The most important tools that we need for this flush are a way to soften the stones, and that's either going to be through malic acid, which is what I recommend for people who are on like a low carb diet. And you can also use apple juice. If you want to use apple juice, go ahead and ask me in the Q&A what those ratios are. You also want to have Epsom salt. This is something that I get asked all the time. Do we have to use Epsom salt? And I'm going to say, no, you don't have to use Epsom salt, but it is, in my opinion, I've done 38 flushes, and Epsom salt does seem to be the fastest and most thorough way to remove all of your waste, to empty out that channel. And then after you have the olive oil and grapefruit juice, the Epsom salt the next morning is going to be the fastest way to get those stones out of your system. And so, of course, if you have a major intolerance to Epsom salt, people have used magnesium citrate, and it's the same exact ratio. I did talk to quite a few people, and they said it does not have the same kind of evacuation that the magnesium sulfate has. You can also do enemas, and I have actually done a flush where I did just enemas, and it just took a lot longer because when you drink the magnesium water, it's a top-down enema is what I call it. So it's basically flushing everything from the top down. And so when you're doing enemas, you have to wait for everything to move down into the large intestine, which can take several hours, if not longer. So it's definitely going to make the process longer. So if you are looking to do a double and triple flush, it might take a long time. And so you are fasting that whole time. So I just wanted to point that out, that it is possible to do this without magnesium sulfate, without the Epsom salt, but you might not get things going as quickly and as thoroughly. Let's see, we have the organic cold pressed olive oil. Now I do have in there that you can use beef tallow, coconut oil, and macadamia oil. I have used all of those and they all worked for me, but I have talked to some other people in the last couple weeks who said that the coconut oil did not work for them. And there's another gentleman who used beef tallow recently and he didn't really have many results either, but we don't know if that was because of the fat that was used or if because he's on a really high fat carnivore diet, which, according to doctors who are really into the carnivore diet, they have a belief that being on that diet, it will automatically clean your liver and gallbladder of fat and stones. And so that was not my experience when I was carnivore, but I also only did one flush while I was on that diet, and the stones were actually the largest they've ever been. But like I said, I don't know if those were stones that were accumulated before I went on that diet, because I should have done another one while I was still on the diet, but I was only on it for 18 months. So I can't personally say from experience about that. So I'm going to recommend organic, cold pressed, unrefined olive oil or the macadamia oil. So those are the two that are in the book. The other thing you're going to need is some kind of citrus. So grapefruits is what I use. The first, I want to say 12 flushes I did, I was using orange juice, and it gave me really bad heartburn. So I switched over to grapefruit and I never had a problem with heartburn again. Now, I don't know if that's because heartburn is one of the symptoms of having liver congestion, and I was just happened to be, 12 flushes in, so it just went away. I never went back to oranges, so I can't speak on that, but you can use 50-50 oranges with lemon or grapefruits. If you're going to do enemas, I highly recommend getting a stainless steel enema bucket. There's also another option to use what I call a psyllium husk pudding. And that's, again, kind of like a top-down enema where you're mixing psyllium husk with some kind of liquid and then you're ingesting it, and that will expand in your digestive system and do a sweep of your intestines. I think this pudding is really good for anyone to do, especially like the day after the flush, because sometimes the liver and gallbladder want to continue purging stones. And so it's really good to have that sweep, regardless of if you had Epsom salt water or citrate or enemas or whatever you were using. Castor oil packs are optional, but very good for the liver, very good for softening stones, very good for moving lymphatic and getting the pathways open for detox. People who are really toxic, liver flushing might not be something you just want to jump right into. So you might want to start. I have a client who she couldn't have fat at all. It would make her really nauseous. I think even like throwing up type nauseous just from a half a teaspoon of MCT oil. And so, but she really wanted to do a liver flush because she was diagnosed with fatty liver. So I had her do, for 1 week leading up to her first liver flush, I had her do castor oil packs followed by coffee enemas. And she did that every day for a week. And when she went to go do her liver flush, which I had her on a third of a cup of oil just because I didn't want to do the full half a cup for her, considering that I didn't want her to get super sick. She did a double purge. She had a third of a cup of oil with no nausea, no sickness, and then she did it again the next day. And I just think that's great. So that just kind of shows how effective castor oil packs and coffee enemas are with helping with fatty liver. So, and getting you ready to do this cleanse. Okay, moving on to the preparation. Okay, so we kind of already talked about softening the stones and using malic acid or apple juice. You can also use apple cider vinegar. That tends to be kind of rough for people who have a lot of candida, but that is another option. It's basically malic acid, which is found in apples. So the method that I use is 3/4 of a teaspoon of malic acid mixed in 4 cups of water. I did read today that somebody doubled that and got really good results. So it is kind of tart. If you can handle that much malic acid, go for it. But minimum, you want 3/4 of a teaspoon and 4 cups of water, and you're going to sip on that throughout the day. I have done like 16 ounces of water and then made a 16-ounce smoothie and put my malic acid powder in that. So if you want to do that, that's fine also. Um, Okay, one thing about enemas, if you're going to be doing coffee enemas during your prep week, do not do them on the day that you're going to be drinking the olive oil, which is day 5. And the reason for that is because coffee enemas are known to make the liver and the bile release, the liver and the gallbladder release bile. So the whole point of day 5 is to increase bile pressure. And so you don't want to release any of that prematurely because that could ruin your flush. So you're going to be eating pretty normal. I've done this on carnivore, I've done it on vegetarian, I've done it on vegan, I've done it fasting, I've done this flush 38 times on every diet there is, and they all work. But I will say that if you're going to be doing carnivore on this, you definitely want to cut out actually eating a lot of meat, probably day 4 and 5, just because it does take a little bit longer to come out of your system. So in that case, I think I did like a bone broth fast on day 5 and did a couple enemas. And by the time I drank the Epsom salt water, everything came out and it was fine. I was ready to go by 10 o'clock. So basically, the first 3 days, you're eating your regular diet and you're having your malic acid water to soften the stones. On day 4, you're going to cut back on what you're eating. If you can go to like blended soups and smoothies and maybe some eggs and just some really light food, that's going to help a lot. In the original protocol, it does say that you can eat the same on day 5 until 2 o'clock. And I personally don't recommend that. I feel like people have a lot better results when they can just liquid fast on day 5, or even just have like a smoothie. But I think in the book, he recommends eating like rice and vegetables. And I just don't think that that is a really good idea. But so, okay, let me back up here. So, day 4, blended soups and smoothies, and maybe some fruit and some scrambled eggs. And then on day 5, that's where the diet is really going to change because you can't have any fat. And so if you're doing carnivore, you're going to have to fast on bone broth or just water. Usually that's not a problem because if you're on a true carnivore diet, it is like a mimic fast. That diet is like fasting. So you should be able to go several hours because you're in ketosis, so it shouldn't be a big problem for you. But if you're eating a normal diet, you can't have any fat. So you can't have any oils, no butter, no yogurt, no cheese, just like no animal products, no avocado, nothing like that. And then at about 2 o'clock, you're going to stop eating food completely. And it does say the protocol from the book says that you should start dry fasting at 2 p.m., like no food or water. And I did that for like 16 flushes, and I kind of was like, yeah, I'm feeling really dehydrated at that point. And would have like sips of water, sips of coconut water, like I use liquid magnesium, and I haven't had any problem continuing to drink water during the day after 2 p.m. So that should be fine. Okay, this is where things get different for everyone. So it says, like, this protocol is a general guideline for most people. But if you know that your digestive system is really slow, I'm going to recommend that you have your Epsom salt water or start doing your enemas way before 6 p.m. So it says to start them at 6 p.m., and I've done that for a few people, and they did not evacuate their bowels in time and had to postpone their flush to the next day. So if you know that your digestive system is slow, I would recommend having that Epsom salt water even as early as 2 p.m. if you wanted to. You're really just trying to get all of your waste out of your digestive system to make a clear path for those gallstones to come through. Okay, so here's where else it's different is it says 3 tablespoons of Epsom salt mixed with 3 cups of water. And that is going to be different for everyone. So this is a general guideline. I think that it's a good place to start if you've never done this. For me personally, I do well with that amount. And then the next morning when I'm having the drink again, I actually cut it down because I don't have any waste in my system. So I don't need it to be as powerful and as strong. So really, you just should go through this first. If this is your first time doing it, I would just, go through it, take notes, figure out what works for you, but definitely don't be afraid to make changes if this is way too much for you or if it's not enough. Same thing, you can increase it. The ratio that I like to use is 1 to 1. So 1 tablespoon of salt with 1 cup of water. So If you make that first drink and everything is coming out of you and you're passing clear, pretty clear liquid, or there's nothing solid coming out of you, there's really no need to have any more Epsom salt water. Um, it's also doing a good job of dilating the bile ducts. And so if you don't want to do Epsom salt water, at the minimum, have some magnesium citrate so that you can at least get those bile ducts dilated. If after that first Epsom salt water drink, you're still passing solid waste, then you might consider having another Epsom salt water. And like I said, you might not need to do 3 cups with 3 tablespoons. You might only need 2, or you might only need 1. You'll kind of know just by how it's coming out and how much it is. So, okay. After your digestive system is completely cleared out, at 9:30. I used to be kind of lenient with the time, but I feel that I want to be a stickler on the time from now on. And that's just because people were getting mixed results, and I was starting to wonder if it was because they were doing these last steps too soon. So maybe they started clearing out their digestive system at 2 p.m. and they're ready to go at like 6. They want to have that olive oil, and I'm not recommending that anyone does that anymore. So 9:30, you're going to get your bed ready. If you do suffer with heartburn, I would definitely recommend, you know, taking a medication if you have to, propping up pillows so that you're not laying flat on your back. You're also going to want to have the room completely dark. You're going to want to have your phone completely off. And no disruptions of any kind. At 9:45, you are going to make your olive oil and citrus drink, and this is the drink that is going to eject the bile from your liver, which is going to force out all those softened stones and fat. So this is the moment we've been waiting for, is to take this drink. Depending on how much you weigh, so I kind of have a rule of thumb where if you weigh over 140 pounds, you're going to do half a cup of oil and half a cup of citrus of your choice. If you're under 140 pounds, you're going to do a third a cup of each. So at 10 p.m., you're going to take this drink, you're going to shake it up really good in a jar with a lid, and you're going to stand next to your bed. You're going to drink it all within about 5 minutes, and then you're going to lay down. And you want to be as still as possible, focusing on that liver. You might put your hands on it if you wanted to have a castor oil pack or a heating pad. That helps to have a little bit of heat there. And just make sure that you are completely still for at least 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, if you need to go to the bathroom again, if you need to roll over or move around, you're free to do that. If you need to get up for a little bit and stretch, that's fine. But usually it's better to just go straight to bed. People have asked me if they should lay on like their right side or their left side during this, and I've never noticed a difference. So it's just whatever is comfortable for you. Okay. The next morning, this is when you are going to either start doing enemas to get the stones out, or you're going to drink your next Epsom salt drink. So, like I was saying earlier, I don't need to drink 3 cups with 3 tablespoons because I'm already really empty. All I'm trying to do is get those stones to come out. So I'm just usually doing 2 tablespoons and 2 cups of water in the morning. And I'm not having this drink before 4 a.m. So I'm waiting at least until 4 a.m. to have this drink. When you have that drink, you can walk around, you can stretch, you can lay back down. I generally like to wait about an hour if you want to have like some more juice or water or tea or something like that. Um, in the book, he mentions, not having anything for at least an hour or two. So I kind of like to stick with that rule as well. But if you're like super thirsty and dehydrated, then definitely take some sips of water. Something else I didn't mention with the Epsom salt, a trick that I use that helps, and a lot of people do this, they either add citrus to the Epsom salt water because it tastes pretty bad, or I actually like to cut up wedges of lime and I'll just bite into the lime in between gulps, and that seems to help a lot. So it really depends on your body how long this part takes. For me, it takes about 2 hours before I start passing stones into the toilet. So, like I said, it might take a couple hours for you to start seeing stones coming into the toilet. And once you have passed all of that Epsom salt water and all of those stones have come out, this is when, oh yeah, the big decision. If you are going to end the cleanse at this point or if you're going to continue on. So if you're going to end your cleanse at this point, and you'll know if you should end it because you'll be extremely tired. I mean, this is like having surgery, so you'll be extremely tired or you just won't feel very well. You know, you'll be really hungry. Like you'll know your body will tell you, like, I'm done, I'm ready to eat, I'm ready to go back to daily life. And so you would just have like some juices or a smoothie or have like some blended soup or something like that and just kind of ease yourself back into food eating. If you do decide that you want to go another round, you will just wait, make sure all of the Epsom salt water is passed through you, all the stones have come out, and then you will make a second olive oil and citrus drink. So I think this last on Christmas Eve, I did a triple flush, and by 10 a.m., I want to say, I was ready to have my second olive oil and citrus drink. Now, of course, I am using the magnesium sulfate, the Epsom salt, so I'm passing stones very quickly. If you are doing enemas, it's going to take you probably quite a bit longer to get all of your stones out. And so that will just prolong, when you're able to take that second olive oil drink. So I just want to make that clear that the time is going to be different depending on how you're getting these stones out. Right. And so if you do decide to end the cleanse at this point, that would be a good time to have like a psyllium husk pudding or to continue doing coffee enemas. You can start doing coffee enemas at that point again because you're done with the flush. So if you are going to continue on, you will still refrain from doing coffee enemas because you're building up bile pressure. And you're basically just going to do the same thing that you did the night before. So the only difference is you're going to drink your second olive oil and citrus drink, and then you're going to lay down for 20 minutes. And instead of waiting like a whole night, how you did the night before, to have your saltwater drink to start flushing it out, you want to wait a minimum of four hours. And that seems to be enough time to start getting it going again. So with my triple flush I just did, I think everything was out by about, I drank olive oil again at 10, and then everything was out by about 4 o'clock. And I waited until the evening to do my third round of olive oil because I just wanted to go to sleep. I was really tired by this point, but I felt like I could keep going. I definitely was getting a lot out in that second round, and I just really wanted to go for round three. So I just went ahead and waited a few hours and let that bowel pressure build up again. And then I had the olive oil and citrus drink, I think at like, I don't know, maybe 8:30 or 9. And then I went to bed and got the rest of the stones out the next morning. So that's pretty much how the triple flushing looks. Your timeline might look different. You might be able to do it faster than me. You might take longer to do it. It's really up to you. And at any point you feel like you can't keep going, um, totally fine. Like totally fine. You just listen to your body. And I'm going to go to the next slide so you can see these are the results of one, two, three, four different people. The first one in the top left are the results from someone who did a double flush. And so you can see in the first three photos there, that was their first round. And that's what I would consider to be liver sludge. And then in his second round, you can see all the green, the gallstones. So a lot of people think that the results that we get from this are a saponification of the fat with, anyway, like of the ingredients, that it's olive oil and Epsom salt and those things. And I just want to say, like, if that was true, all of these should look the same. They should all be the same color. So you can see just from the same individual, and the same with the next slide. The very, very green round one, the gallstones, are very different looking from the one with the red colander. That's all just liver fat. Very different looking than the gallstones. And she's using all the same ingredients. The picture in the lower left corner, those are mine, and that's just to show all the different colors and sizes and shapes. And um, the one with like the big balls of cholesterol, that's actually what I removed when I was on a carnivore diet. But like I said, I don't know if that was because of the diet or because of how I was eating before the diet. And then because there's so much fat in a carnivore diet, that these gallstones were just like picking up cholesterol as I was eating a lot of fat, because those gallstones can accumulate toxins and things as the blood is filtering through the liver. The last picture there down in the corner is from a person who does not have a gallbladder and also type 1 diabetic. He did very well for his first flush. You can see a lot of bile. You can see a lot of liver sludge, and you can even see what I think are quite a few liver flukes. So it may take several flushes until your organs are completely clear, but that is the goal. Um, I have seen people in the groups on Facebook who have done hundreds of liver flushes and they're still getting out tons and tons and tons. And to me, it's like, well, what are you eating? Because it took me 16 flushes and then nothing was coming out. But I was really diligent on, not eating crap, not eating seed oils, not drinking alcohol, not, eating a lot of processed food and fast food and things like that. So, it is quite possible that people are using a liver flush as a way to continue their disordered way of eating. And so that's definitely a possibility when you see people who have done hundreds and hundreds of flushes that they're not eating correctly. And sometimes people are just really struggling that much with other things, with parasites, or I know people that don't get results on these liver flushes. They've had to do several rounds of parasite cleanses and like getting liver flukes out, and then they finally started to get some results. So it really just depends on where you're at with things. It is recommended that you wait to do more flushes for at least 3 weeks. And the reason for that is because these stones have been in there for so long and they've literally like enlarged the organ. And this creates scar tissue. The liver wants to heal. It is a miraculous organ. I believe it can be like 10 or 20% left and it will completely grow into its whole self again. So it wants to heal. But it will get scar tissue from being stretched out from all these stones and all the fat. And so you want to give it time to repair that scar tissue and shrink down to its new size. And it's going to continue shrinking down. And this is why I say a lot of people who have fatty liver disease, they will have a very large midsection, but they'll have skinny arms and legs. So that's the reason why. Um, Once you have done 2 flushes with nothing coming out, then you can go on to a maintenance schedule. And so, like right now, I'm pretty much doing a flush every 6 months, and I get out quite a bit. I probably could have been eating better in the last 6 months. I was really happy on carnivore, and then it wasn't working for me all of a sudden, and I went through a little bit of depression with that because you guys might know how that is. You find a diet that really works for you until it doesn't, and then it's like, well, now what? So I kind of was feeling a bit defeated in that area and just kind of like, well, who cares? I kind of was doing the liver flushes just to not know what diet, because I've done vegan, I've done paleo, I've done keto, I've done carnivore, I've done, so I'm not really sure at this point what my body wants me to do, but I will continue doing the flushes. So if anyone has a question, if you could raise your hand or type it into the chat, um, we'll go ahead and start that. And if you're going to ask um, a question, just make sure your mic is off first. So, okay, the question was what brand of olive oil? So on my website, excaliburhealing.com, you can find a list at the bottom called Tools Needed. And it's going to basically just give you some recommendations of brands, but you're free to use whatever brand you want. It just needs to be organic, cold pressed, unrefined. Can it be painful? So, some people do have pain with this, and it's usually because they didn't soften the stones well enough. So, um, if you're someone who has had their gallbladder removed, then you are probably going to have quite a bit in your liver. And I would definitely recommend taking maybe even a few extra days to soften your stones. beyond the recommended 5 days. Hi, Lori.
Hi. Quick question. With the coffee enemas, are you saying that some people are just going to do the enemas at the end? Or are you saying that people are doing them the first few days, days 1 through 4? I wasn't sure.
Oh, with the coffee?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome to do them every day of your life. If there's something that help you and you enjoy doing them, you
I
just
haven't
don't
done them.
sure,
I've done a different program, but I did the 5 day, did it for 4, and then but I just didn't know with enemas if it was okay to do days 1 through 4 and then not on day 5 is
right, correct.
okay.
Mhm.
Or if you're
And,
gonna
and
go past.
and I mean, maybe not even day 4. It's just like
Okay.
they're really not required. Um, they're helpful, but also they're not helpful at a certain point. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So, mhm.
Can I ask one last question?
Yeah.
So I have an adult son who does have a fatty liver, and so right now, it's down to he's got to make a change. So right
Hmm.
now, I've been doing the lemon shots with olive oil and
Hmm.
cayenne and ginger and turmeric because I don't think he's ready for anything major.
Hmm.
But I thought about maybe adding Tudka and some Cellcore stuff, the
Hmm.
KL, I think that's kidney liver support. How have you taken people with severe, because he's obese and it's bad? So, any thoughts on that? And it doesn't have to be long, just thoughts.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. And I think you're doing really well just to kind of do little things here and there. Probably castor oil packs I would recommend, and they're very soothing and nice for bedtime. But really, we want to look at just getting him on the right diet eh, on a daily basis. That's going to help the most,
Yes,
honestly.
but again, she was like paleo or Mediterranean, and
Hmm.
I'm like, you could find an argument for anything online.
Sure. But I think we can all agree that, processed and
Yes,
sugar, you know, those things.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, we're already on that. His caregiver's helping, but it's going to be a journey and it's got to go slow. So,
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, I don't have a gallbladder, so you're saying to do days 1 to 4, like in a longer period of time, make it 6 or 7 days before starting day 5?
Yeah, like if you wanted to just add in, like I was saying in the beginning, like chamomile tea and cranberry juice and warm lemon water in the morning. If you wanted to, I didn't even mention the stonebreaker tincture, which I think everybody should use. That's a South American herb, Chanca piedra, and that's going to soften up the stones really well. So yeah, just some things you can do to support yourself a little deeper before you get going on that.
I have a question.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi. I've got a couple questions actually.
Mhm.
Do you find dosing, kind of mega dosing on probiotic foods after helpful?
I love probiotic foods anyway. I'm a huge fan of sauerkraut, raw sauerkraut.
Yeah.
That so vitamin C is going to knock out all the bad bacteria in the stomach, and so that's going to help with hydrochloric acid. That's going to help with digestion of food in general.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that especially if you're doing enemas and you're using this like high doses of, the Epsom salt and you're evacuating your bowels like this, that you should definitely be replacing with a lot of magnesium and a lot of probiotics. So that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you find massaging in and around the liver um, during the whole process helpful as well?
Absolutely. And just do it every day anyway.
Yeah.
I have like a little Tupperware that I keep with coconut oil and distilled pine gum resin or turpentine, and I have camphor oil and that with castor oil, and I just do abdominal massage pretty much every day. So,
Okay.
especially during enemas, especially when you're fasting, because you can get really deep into there. I think the Chinese don't even mess around with massage other than the feet and the abdomen. So, very
Right.
important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and do you find, like, I think a lot of people who are on this call, and I know definitely myself, are possibly considering parasite flushes as well. Do you find you kind of, like you said, not to do another one of these for 3 months? Can you go to a parasite flush within like a few weeks of this, or how long do you think you should wait?
Sure. Oh, it's 3 weeks, by the way, for the liver flushing.
3 weeks, sorry. Okay, not
Yep.
3 months.
And if you're having a lot of pressure, like let's say you get all your stones out and then you're having a lot of pressure, and some pain even, I would do another round. I would just keep fasting because you're having all that fat. You're not getting to eat a regular meal, but the calories from the fat will keep you going. And so I would even flush again just to see, because that might be a stuck stone, is what they call it. Um, as far as the parasite cleansing goes, for certain people, it's going to be way too much released into the system at one time. So you
Mhm.
really have to just go by how you feel. And so, um, like this last triple flush I did, I was like, well, why not? And I just took 2 teaspoons of turpentine because I was already fasted.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I removed a couple of critters, we'll call. So
For for
yeah,
clarity's sake, you're not talking about the turpentine in the paint store, right?
nope,
Yeah.
nope, distilled pine gum resin.
Right.
It's been used for a long time. Yeah. So Diamond G Forest is the brand I use. There's a couple other brands, but I've been using that one for 9 years. That's actually how I started cleansing. Someone told me to do a parasite, or not parasites, it was for candida.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll try it. I'm having all these symptoms. And I took a quarter of a teaspoon my first time and ended up in the next 3 days after that, I took 3 more quarters. So I ended up taking just 1 full teaspoon in the course of like 36 hours. And I removed 30 feet of ropeworm parasites.
Yeah,
Feet.
I've deep diving on your YouTube channel. So
Yeah, I was like, Candida, like that's nothing. This is
right.
so
Yeah.
the stuff is really good. I continue to use it, like I said, but if you are someone who's just getting into liver flushing, I do not recommend parasite cleansing on top of your liver flushes. But this is something that you can look forward to once you get,
Right.
once you get going on all this stuff. Yeah.
And as far as food grade Epsom salts, we're up here in Canada. Just looking on Amazon, I don't, what makes an Epsom salt food grade?
It just, I'm not really sure. I've only just used stuff from Walmart, but everyone's like, oh, you should use food grade. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could love myself a little more. But
That's hilarious.
yeah, it hasn't been an issue for me, but some people are really like picky about it. So that's the recommendation.
Right, right, right. Okay. All right. So I'm just not sure we're going to be able to get it here. I've checked at our health food store and they're just like, it's magnesium sulfate one way or
Yeah.
another.
Yep.
So,
I think you'll be fine, Jordan. I have a feeling you'll be okay.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Anyone else? I'm gonna look at the chat and see. Okay, so liver flush first or parasite first. So again, that's just gonna depend. I did a parasite cleanse first, as I was just explaining, and then that led into um Kim, hi Kim, and that led into the liver flushing. But like I said, some people can't even do the liver flushing because they have so many parasites in the way, their body just isn't letting it release. And it's really just going to depend on you and how you're feeling. Um, so I think there was another one. What are the major benefits you see in your health after the flushes? That's really going to depend again. For me personally, those like I was pretty overweight and I had really bad acne. I had really bad heartburn. I was on like omeprazole for like 10 years. And I think after like my third flush, I was able to just throw that stuff away. So also the reason I started liver flushing was because I had like a lot of anger. And that's kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's true. Like the liver is responsible for our anger and resentment. And the reason for that, what ends up happening is when your liver is congested full of stones and fat, and there's no way for the bile which is digesting our food and giving us our nutrients. Like bile is so important. And when that bile can't flow freely through the organ and into the digestive system, it ends up backwashing into the bloodstream. And that's causing flashes of anger and redness and hotness and all those feelings and things. And so, yeah, that left me after, I want to say after the first flush, I felt like I just have never been, I've never felt better since doing these. And so that's another benefit. Should you have regular bowel movements before starting a flush? I would say yes, but also you might not be having regular bowel movements because your liver is congested, because you need bile to digest your food. And so when you don't have enough bile, you have all this undigested food. This is leading to, an increase of microbes and parasites and all these problems. And so you're getting, constipation and that. And so if you can get your bowel cleared out with the Epsom salt water and enemas, and get some liver flushes going, that is probably going to help you with having regular bowel movements, in general. So that's really just going to depend on how bad the constipation is. And can it be painful? I don't know if I answered that question. So that's why we're using the malic acid to soften the stones. So it shouldn't be painful. Also, the Epsom salt is dilating the bile ducts, and so it shouldn't be painful. Okay. The anger, yeah. How long to wait before doing a parasite cleanse? That just is going to depend, like I was saying. It really just depends. Like sometimes these liver flushes can leave people feeling pretty depleted. Going to the bathroom that many times, I don't know why. I'm just going to recommend that you should have some like petroleum jelly or some kind of oil to lubricate your bottom end, because you are going to be going to the bathroom quite a few times. It can be really draining, and so you might not be ready for a parasite cleanse right away. I've done 38 flushes in 10 years, and I've done a lot of parasite cleansing. And so I just like to double them up because I'm already fasting as it is. So I might as well. I don't know what dysautonomia is. I know what autonomia dysreflexia is, but I don't know what that is. It's easy to lose balance of electrolytes. I would definitely, so I use something called Remag, and it's liquid magnesium, and it's like 60,000 parts per million. And so it's very absorbable by the body compared to other types of magnesium. And I'm using that probably 600 milligrams a day. And I'm increasing that quite a bit during these liver flushes because you are losing a lot of electrolytes. So I would definitely increase those. Access the recording. I'm hoping to get this on YouTube. Are you releasing into a strainer to see your treasures? This last time I was, because I knew I was going to make a video, but I'd never done that before. They do float. So unless they're actual gallbladder stones, which are more calcified because of bile pigments and calcium stones, they will sink in that case. But generally, the most that's coming out is from your liver, and that's going to be mostly cholesterol, and it's going to float. So don't really need a strainer, but it's kind of fun for pictures and people appreciate it online. So any other questions?
I have a question, Alina.
Hi, Lisa.
Thank you for the class. I know you talked a little bit about the timing, and I understand the part about taking the Epsom salt drink earlier, but I'm just curious about the 6 p.m. and the 10 p.m. timing. Like, what's the significance of that in Andrea Moritz's perspective? I haven't read the book, so.
Sure. Yeah. And someone just asked, and so I'm going to say that really quick. It is called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush by Andreas Moritz. You can find that on Amazon or on Kindle. And the reason for the timing of that is okay, so let's just say you're taking it at 6 p.m. He's saying that between 6 and 10, you're going to release all of your poop. And I don't think that's enough time. So that's why I say you should do it a little sooner if you know your system's a little bit slower, but that's what's happening in between those two windows.
Mhm. But for
So,
example, can we shift everything upwards? For example, the 6 p.m., we're going to do that at, 9 p.m. And then we're drinking the oil at, 1 a.m. or something. Like
oh,
we're
right.
spacing it
Yeah.
out.
So
Yeah.
I think the reason for the 10 o'clock time for the oil is because that is when the liver and gallbladder are beginning to work the hardest for you. And so that's more of physiological timing. But now, having said that, I do triple purges. I'm drinking this oil whenever, and it's still working.
Yeah.
So again, I would do it how it's written, see how it goes for you, because then if something goes wrong, you can say, "Well, I don't know what it was because I did all these things different from the protocol. How do I know where I went wrong?"
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
So,
All right. Thank you.
mhm. Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed this. Thanks everyone for showing up. Um, if you have more questions, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on YouTube. It's Excalibur Healing. So yeah, I just want to thank you once again for being here and see you next time.